Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Economic Development Corporation. I'm Jim Cardle. State Representative Dan Flynn is in his 6th term, having served 12 years. Previously been on the Border and Homeland Security Committee, the Financial Services Committee, and currently is chairman of the Pensions Committee, which oversees over 32 state pensions. With this session now more than a month old, and with the budget process beginning to hit full swing, we're pleased to be able to visit today with State Representative Dan Flynn from House District 2 for Texas Insider TV. Representative, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming back.
It's always my pleasure to be here with you.
Well, let me just jump right in. First get to the one thing constitutionally that the legislature is required to do, and that is to pass a budget. There's been a lot of discussion so far about tax cuts and budgeting process, what level the budget will come in. Let me preface this by saying that you all in the House were the first to come out with your budget at $2.2 billion. That's a 0.2% increase over the previous biennium. The Texas Senate has subsequently come out with a $207 billion budget, a 1.5% increase. And then there's the groups led by Texas Public Policy Foundation, Americans for Prosperity, Young Conservatives of Texas. They are recommended a $217 billion budget, which is an increase of about 6.5%. You all in the House now are looking like you're the conservative group. Tell us a little bit, if you can, about the Texas state budget.
Well, Jim, you know, you've been around long enough to know that this is very early still in the process. And there will be a lot more conversation. There will be a lot more numbers that will be thrown at you. But the bottom line is there's a commitment, a strong commitment, that we're going to have significant tax cuts in this session. And we're fortunately in a position where we can not only have significant tax cuts, but we can also fill in some gaps and holes that we need to do that are very important. We're not going to be a lot of desires that are going to be taken care of, but we'll take care of the needs of the people of the state of Texas, and I'm looking forward to it. But it will be a very interesting time, because I think the Senate and the House both are committed that we're going to have significant tax cuts.
Well, let's, if we can, talk about a specific item, because just this week you in the House were the first to announce that you would fully fund your obligations for the Texas retirement system. A lot of folks won't have the retirement system of the teachers or the ERS, Texas Employee Retirement System, on their radar screens, but talk a little bit about what happened this week and how you're going to fund the teacher retirement system, a very important issue for educators across the state.
That was one of my first concerns when we started looking at the retired teachers and ERS and the other 30-plus retirement systems around the state of Texas for the municipal departments, the fire departments, the police departments, and they're all centered around what you have to have an actuarial soundness to be able to do certain things. The commitment that we have to our school teachers is it's a priority of every person in the Texas House and the Senate. We made a commitment to these teachers when they came to work for the state of Texas and gave their lives to educate our future. And that's been the greatest concern that all of them have had, is that last session we were able to correct the actuarial soundness of the TRS, and this session I had been going around telling everybody we're going to fix the health care issue. I'm thrilled that Chairman Otto of the Appropriations and I got together, and he made a full commitment that we're going to fully fund that health care. So that's the big issue. Of course, the other issue is ERS. There are some challenges there, but I have every intention of trying to do my very best to address those, and we want to bring that actuarial soundness up, and I believe there's a commitment on the part of leadership that we'll do that too.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Again, the TRS is the Teacher Retirement Service, EMS, Employees Retirement Service for state employees, but talk a little bit, if you can, about the specifics. That is partially funded by employee contributions. You all in the state, though, pick up a good part of it, I believe, correct?
Yes, there's a significant amount that is, just like any retirement system, you kind of have a shared benefit. And we have in the past several years, because of the shortfalls in the budget, we've not contributed as much as we have done in the past, or that they would like for us to do, but we've always maintained the statutory requirements, but we need to do a little bit better than that. Why do we need to do that? Because that's one of the issues that the Wall Street looks at when they're analyzing the bonds of the state of Texas, and if we have unfunded liabilities, they're quick to point that out, and it concerns them a little bit. We want to address that because we want to maintain those excellent bond ratings that we have. It's very important to people of the state of Texas that Texas remains #1 in all areas.
Well, Texas certainly likes to be #1, so we appreciate your work there. Let me shift gears if I can real quick. You last session were the author, and I know you were with Chris Kyle's widow. American Sniper's been in the theaters, been in the Oscars the other night, in the news quite a bit. American Sniper Chris Kyle, you helped with veterans jobs bills. You've also been on the House Homeland Security Committee, and already this session discussion about whether or not the feds are paying their fair share, whether or not the state's going to continue funding through the remainder of the fiscal year. You're a member of the Texas State Guard, a colonel in fact. Give us an update if you can on the Texas border situation, both funding wise and personnel. What can we see coming down the pike?
Well, there's a total failure on the part of the federal government to address the issue that is paramount in everyone's mind. If you go to any town hall meetings, civic club meetings, any chamber of commerce meetings, the first question is always, what are we going to do about border security? So it is a real issue that all the people are very concerned about. As a matter of fact, if it hadn't been for former Governor Rick Perry, that border could very easily be up here in Travis County. But
Really?
What's happening is we have addressed that issue. It's not perfect yet, but one of the things that you need to understand is that he deployed some National Guard people down there, but it's really a criminal element, and that's why you're seeing this push to double the size of the Department of Public Safety, Parks and Wildlife, and local law enforcement. Those are really going to be the ones that are going to protect the citizens of Texas. Now, we've spent over $600 million that the federal government owes the state of Texas. I filed a resolution in the House, and Senator Estes filed it in the Senate, and I even took one of those bills. I guess it was, you'd call it an invoice maybe. As an old banker, that's kind of what I'd call it, an invoice. And we asked them to pay, because like so many of the customers I used to have in the banking industry, it's in the mail.
Okay, well, I need to mention, if I can interrupt, you are on the board. You're a board member of the National Council of State Legislators, a highly respected group. I know you've been to the White House with them. I guess that's what you're referring to, delivering the bill to the White House. Tell us.
We've been very fortunate. I'm the chairman of the Military Task Force for the National Conference of State Legislators, and that military task force is very concerned about a lot of issues. One, of course, is the border security, but they've kind of backed away because the federal government's not doing anything. It's been up to Texas, and we're doing it, and there's been significant decrease in folks coming across the border. One of the things that many people don't understand is that 70% of those folks that cross that border are what we call OTMs, other than Mexicans. That means they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from China, they're coming from South and Central America. These people are not coming here for jobs. And that's the concern that all the people of Texas have. Now, we're going to continue to address that, and Governor Abbott has certainly made a big statement when he said we're going to secure the border. Lieutenant Governor Patrick has also joined that, along with Speaker Strauss. So I feel like that the people can be, they can have some sort of appreciation that we're going to continue that effort. And in the budget, it is noted, and I appreciate Chairman Otto in his efforts to be sure that that makes that a priority.
Well, let's talk about the OTMs. I know we've got our local congressman here from Austin, Congressman Michael McCall's chairman of the House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee in Congress. Talk about that. I guess you're referring to a real border threat coming through our southern border. Is that in fact something that Texans need to be worried about?
It is significant. and we're very concerned. I receive all the DPS reports, Department of Public Safety reports, and as I look at them, there are some things in there that are really concerning to me. One of the things, your friend and mine, John Culberson, who's a U.S. Congressman, he's also on a committee that can help us with some of the funding of border security, and we're looking forward to working with him because he is a truly committed Texan that wants to be sure we secure the border and it is properly funded, because he has some grant money he can work with us.
Well then, if I can, Mr. Chairman, let me switch gears a little bit and talk about the pro-life issue that you've been instrumental in. I know last session was what some of the pro-life groups referred to as the bill of the century. The legislature substantially reduced, almost eliminated funding for Planned Parenthood. There's the sonogram bill from the session before. Tell us an update if you can. The sessions previous have been tremendously successful from the pro-life group's point of view. What do you see this session, if anything, happening?
You know, just to go back a little bit, the last 3 legislative sessions, there has been more pro-life, pro-family legislation passed than the history of the Texas Legislature.
Really?
That's something that I'm very proud of, that we have done those kind of things. Yes, we have defunded all of those people that have pushed for abortion. We need to protect. If we don't protect life, who will? It is one of those things that it is paramount in everything that we do in our whole life. If we can't protect the life and liberty of even those in the womb, we're making a failure. And so I think you're going to continue to see a strong push to protect life and not only that, but also the families. You know, if you talk to any of the people in the public education, the biggest challenge they have right now is breakdown of family units. And that's where the problems are occurring, that is so concerning to all of us for the future. Because if we have that breakdown of the family you can't educate kids that are not going to be disciplined. So that's very important that for everything that we do, and it starts with being a pro-life person.
Well, certainly interesting perspective. Citizens expect you to be conservative with your fiscal budget matters, a different angle there you're talking about. But let me, if I can, one final question, change gears again. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Kroll Report. The situation with the UT board has not been in the news recently, but certainly has been in the last 6 months. The Kroll Report examined the behavior of the president of UT, Mr. Powers. You've been intimately involved as chairman of the Transparency Committee last session that looked into the UT board practices. Give us an update on that if you can, and where we stand on the UT board investigation, specifically the Kroll Report, if you can.
You know, the University of Texas is certainly a flagship for the state of Texas in our higher education, and yes, they had some real challenges, and we did do work on the Transparency Committee, and at the direction of our committee, the Kroll Report came out, and I think that the new chancellor at the University of Texas, Admiral McCray, has taken hold of it. The Texas Legislature does not need to micromanage any of our universities. That's why we have regents, that's why we have chancellors, to do those kind of things. And I know that anyone that would question some of the direction that the Admiral has done, I would like to remind him that he's the man that established the process for getting rid of Osama bin Laden. I have total confidence in him. I think he's a man of integrity, and I think the university, as a result of our Transparency Committee, the governor has realigned how they do their appointments. The Senate has realigned how they are going to do their confirmations, and the University of Texas has completely revamped so many of their procedures. I'm believing that under the direction of Admiral McCray, we're going to have another University of Texas successful year, and I look forward to all the things that are in store for our university.
I know that is a committee, though, that you did not ask to become a member of, you did not ask to be chairman of. What was the process, if you can, on that committee being started?
Jim, that's a really interesting question, because a lot of people have thought that that committee was selected just to do this issue. And what we did is, that was a Transparency Committee, and our primary effort was, we wanted to look at contracts, we wanted to look at if you'll recall the cancer fund that we created, yes, and it had some real issues that had to be addressed. Real proud of the work that our committee did on that issue. We also had a problem over at the law school that had to be addressed, and the committee did an excellent job. And we were winding down when a bill was filed, and it was the place to put it, and so we enjoyed about a year and a half of doing what I believe was a thorough investigation, and we came to conclusions, and I believe that as a result of that, we're putting the university back to where it can be run by the regents and under the direction of the chancellor, and of course they're in the process of getting a new president.
Well, speaking of winding down, we're going to respect your time, Mr. Chairman, and leave it there, let you run. Thanks for coming in.
It's my honor and privilege. I always appreciate the work that Texas Insider does.
Well, that goes both ways, folks. I want to thank you again for joining us for this issue of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Economic Development Corporation. We visited today with Chairman Dan Flynn from House District 2, member for 12 years and one of the top conservatives in the state House of Representatives. Remember, you're either an insider or you're not. Be sure and join us next time for more Texas Insider TV. I'm Jim Cardle. Thanks.